that's what they do.
And you thought that you'd be safe in your tower.
Think again.
Isolated from the people below.
You can't keep the truth down.
Truth has undermined your foundation by so many people now in the know. You thought that you'd see the day that you could just get away from the ones you betrayed, who raised their voices to say you won't be trusted anymore.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Monday. It's such a Monday. 13th of October, 2025, and these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, trying to navigate through the subterfuge, the propaganda, the gaslighting, the manipulation, and the lies that we're being told left and right, and I mean from the left and from the right. Yeah, I mean, what are we to believe anymore? We just, we have to second guess everything that we're being told. And we already know, we say the liberal media, the lefties and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but you know what? You conservatives out there are being just as gaslit by your conservative networks. So anyway, I'm standing alone. I'm screaming from the rooftops, a lone voice in the wind. And I'm sort of accustomed to that. Anyway, these are the WTF reports, as if we don't have enough reason to exclaim WTF. And they're brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. And I know I tell you about this every day, but there's a reason for it. Because Rife technology works. Yes, it does. It's all about frequencies, just like Tesla told us over a century ago. And Royal Raymond Rife brought it to the scientific table. And a woman by the name of Linda Banber has figured out how to take this Rife technology and put it into a wristwatch. And if you want to check this out, I think you really should. It ain't going to hurt. So visit our website, TheWTFReports.com, and the little pop-up that'll come up there, it'll take you down to some information about the Wave Watch. And once you've done some investigation, your own independent research, I think maybe you'll come to the same conclusion that yours truly came to many years ago. Anyway, so check it out, the Wave Watch. It's Rife technology you wear on your wrist. Okay, where to get started right now? Well, I know people are feeling really unnerved. Things feel really, really strange. I don't know what it is about, I've talked to a lot of people. They feel that time is I don't know, it just feels different. Time is shooting by. People feel that there's not the same vibe that there was, like, say, 5 or 10 years ago. And people are awakening. Yes, they are noticing a lot of things. And there's a guy named Dave, and he put out the following. I got a bunch of audio clips I'm going to get to today, but I wanted to touch upon this because I know that a lot of people out there are feeling the same way. Things feel strange. And maybe it's because we're passing from one age into another, from Pisces into Aries, and our solar system is moving through the Milky Way, and maybe there's different cosmic forces. I don't know. But things feel strange.
To all my friends out there who know what is really going on, to all my conspiracy theorist friends, sometimes it's a curse and not a blessing to be awake. In my over 45 years of behind-the-scenes invisible intelligence work, I feel compelled to share the following for your consideration. Awakening is the most liberating, alienating, excruciating, empowering, lonely, confusing, freeing, frightening, expansive journey. And if you find yourself struggling, trying to process all this insanity, believe me when I say you are not alone. No one talks about the darkness that accompanies awakening or the grief we go through, not only grieving the life and illusions that you once had, but the realization that almost everything you thought you knew is a lie. The beliefs you've held, people you've trusted, principles you were taught, all lies. Shattering illusions is never an enjoyable experience. There is a considerable amount of discomfort that comes with growth, and the grieving process doesn't stop there. With these newfound realizations, you will find yourself grieving all over again. Grieving the loss of many relationships with people who just don't get it. Feeling alone, being ridiculed and shamed, not only by the masses, but for many of you, your very own family and friends too. Feeling like you no longer have much in common with the people you're surrounded by.
No kidding.
Struggling with carrying on bullshit, shallow conversations that lack substance with those who are still fast asleep. Even feeling disconnected from your entire support system because they can't see what you see. Some even grieve the loss of their ignorance because ignorance is bliss and reality is harsh. Awakening can be a lonely road, and you will often find yourself journeying alone. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Awakening to the realities of this world is brutal. It will have you running through the entire gamut of human emotions. You have to master the art of diving down the darkest of rabbit holes only to come out and still function in daily life. And that's a skill people don't talk about enough. Some of you are or will struggle with feeling disconnected from family and friends. It's as though they exist in another world. Please know you are not alone. And not only are you not alone, you have an entire group of like-minded folks standing with you. You may be separate, we may be separated by miles, but we are deeply connected in mind, purpose, and spirit. God loves you, and so do I. Signed, Dave.
Well, thank you, Dave, for that contribution, and I think that your sentiments are echoed through the listenership here. Things feel strange. Things are just, they don't have the same vibe that they used to have. And he's, like I said, he's not the only one. People are all over the country, and indeed all over the world, are feeling this shift, this awakening, this noticing. And as a result, your values change. Things that you felt were so important, they're just sort of crumble and fall away. And things that you didn't really pay attention to and didn't care about, all of a sudden take on a new significance. And this is a process that people are going on, that people are going through, like I said, all over the world.
Is anybody else experiencing the whiplash of watching all of this crazy shit that's happening lately? And then you go to work and you're around a bunch of people who very clearly don't pay attention to anything, and they just don't care or don't talk about any of it. It's kind of crazy. In some ways, I'm a little envious of them because they're so detached from everything and they're just kind of in their own little bubble. I wish I could be that way. But yeah, it's just kind of wild.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. And I'm sure you folks out there listening to this broadcast know exactly what that gentleman was talking about. There are people, and like you just heard, I admire people who have their bubble. They just, I don't want to pay attention to it. It's too depressing. It pisses me off, but the thing is that those are the first ones that'll complain about how screwed up things are. But they just don't want to get involved. Now, I remind people, this is a government of, by, and for the people. So what kind of government do you end up with when the people just get up and leave the table? As the saying goes, when the cat's away, the mice will play, or in this case, the rats will play. And that's exactly what's going on. So you folks out there that are living in your bubble, I admire you. I get it. Ignorance is bliss. And, you don't want your happy bubble to be popped. And I get it. But unfortunately, unless people start rolling up their sleeves and getting directly involved, and I don't care what side of the political aisle you're standing on, people have to start paying attention and getting involved. And as a matter of fact, here's another installment of somebody who's talking about exactly the same thing.
Imagine living in a world where you're wide awake, okay? You've had the awakening, you see exactly what's going on in the world, you realize that we're living in a simulation, the Matrix, everything's an illusion, but you're living amongst people that are completely clueless, and they think you're crazy. That's the world I live in. It's a very, my circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller because once your eyes open and you see the world for what it is, you can't go back. And so many people either choose to live in the illusion or they're just blind to it because they've been conditioned that way not to see it. It's a nightmare, really, because they think you're crazy. You tell them stuff and they're like, they're so far behind, I don't have the time to get them up to speed.
No kidding.
When you truly have the awakening and you wake up, you know, your eyes open up and everything looks different. And I cannot get somebody there. So I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just saying, hey, you might want to take a look at this, right? The fact is, most people will never get there. They're going to live blind and live in the system and never see things for what they really are. I'd love to know in the comments below who you out there that have truly awakened and you see the truth. You realize that we have been lied to by just about everything, okay?
So I'm going to put it out there. Now, for those of you regular listeners, you know that this broadcast goes out live. We go on the air at 2:05 Eastern Time, which is 11:05 a.m. Pacific Time. Do the math for your time zones in between. And the phone number, if you're listening during those times, that means that we're live, and you can call in. And I'd love to know if you are going through the same experience that so many other people around the country and around the world are going through. They're starting to realize that we are in a matrix. This entire society that we live in is a construct, and it was constructed by people who do not have our best interests in mind. We know that now. So anyway, if you'd like to call in, I'd like to know what your experience is. Are you feeling isolated? Are you feeling alienated by your friends, your family, your coworkers because you have come to a new level of realization? So anyway, you want to call in, I'd love to hear from you. 215-867-8255. That's 215-867-8255. Now, we've been financially, I can't use that R word. I have to say graped. Yeah, grape. I can't say without the G because it'll set off all kinds of algorithms and stuff. So we have been financially graped by our government. And let me see, I've got a clip here. Where is it? The IRS. Did you know that there's $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes by IRS members? Okay, listen to this.
While most Americans had to write a big fat check to the government today to pay their taxes, over 100,000 federal workers are not paying their taxes. In 2021, the IRS found that almost 150,000 federal workers owe about $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes. Over 5,000 of them work at the IRS and owe $50 million in overdue taxes.
Wow.
Even though the IRS can fire its workers that are not paying their taxes, only 20 people have been terminated. That double standard is something Senator Joni Ernst, Senate Doge Caucus Chair, wants to stop. She's introducing several bills aimed at cleaning up the IRS. One bill would require IRS employees to be audited every year and fired if they don't pay their taxes. But while the IRS is not catching the tax cheats on their own payroll, they are busy arming their workforce. Ernst is also calling out 10 million taxpayer dollars the IRS has spent on guns and ammo, stockpiling 4,500 guns, 5 million rounds of ammo, even 15 machine guns.
So while the IRS is arming themselves to the teeth, and let me remind you that the IRS is the military arm of the Federal Reserve. For those of you who haven't figured that out yet, that's just the way it happens to be. So the point is that while these IRS employees are dodging their taxes and arming themselves to go after people who they deem are not paying their fair share, well, guess what? The IRS doesn't want to hear about, people's individual rights. And as you may know, the entire IRS Ponzi scheme is based upon, and I quote, voluntary compliance, unquote. Just those two words together are an oxymoron. I mean, they shouldn't even exist together. Voluntary compliance? How can you comply if it's voluntary? Well, there's a lot of us out there, yours truly included, that this is a quarter century ago, that we were all screaming from the rooftops that this whole scheme is voluntary. And I have a couple of audio clips here from people that I worked with back in the past. But in the meantime, it's time to go to the phones. Okay, we have a caller, and where are you calling from, and who are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. This is Art down in Arkansas. I heard you talking earlier about how everything and everybody is just feeling like a sense of foreboding and things just don't seem right.
Yeah.
And well, there are Jeremiah prophecies. He prophesied a total end and a total destruction of Israeli over there. Now, they've been destroyed and rebuilt several times, but since the occasion of the new state in 1947, 48, or whatever, it created a situation here where, like, and you know how Netanyahu has been genociding his not his people, but the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all this peace talks with Trump and Netanyahu, and everybody's looking forward to it and everything. Well, it just reminds me of something that Jesus said.
Okay.
He said, when shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come.
Yes,
now,
that's true, yeah.
We can apply that to Israeli, or we can apply that to Mystery Babylon, but whatever, I think it's something to watch. And I just thought I'd remind you and everybody else out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what I have, man.
Well, I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. You know, they will say peace, peace, and then sudden destruction come upon them, you know. It's also in, I think it's Matthew 24. It says basically the same thing. So, I'm on board with 100% of what you just said.
Well, it's something to watch, man.
Oh, yeah, well, we are watching it, and I'm glad that you, too, are noticing, and I use that word specifically. You know, I mean, people are feeling that there's a strangeness in the entire vibe. I mean, everything has changed. The holidays don't feel the same. Time isn't moving as like it used to. And and there's just this feeling of uneasiness. It's sort of like, remember when you were a kid and you went to school and you didn't do your homework? And then they call on you to bring up your report, and you didn't do it. You get that pit in your stomach, you know? You know what I'm talking about, right? You know? Well, I think people are walking around with that feeling all the time, and they don't know why.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a movement of God himself that is putting this feeling in people just to prepare them. And so, you know, I'm really anticipating something really big to happen. I don't know what it might be, but it could be this Israeli state being destroyed. So,
well, I don't know. I don't know, but there are a lot of people out there saying, look, I can sense that there's another big, big event coming up. Some people are saying, you know, it's going to be a false flag that's going to make the 9/11 attack look like a walk in the park. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, all right, well, thank you for the call. I hope to hear from you again. I'm glad to have you as a listener. Oh, by the way, you're a first-time caller, aren't you?
Well, no, I've called before. But I appreciate you, Dave. You're one of the few people. I used to listen to the Power Hour all the time.
Oh, bless your heart. You remember. He remembers.
Well, when Dave Krieger took off, I've had it, you know. But anyway, so when you came on board, and you're saying some sensible things, and you refer to Scripture a lot, which turns me on. But with that, I'll let you go, big guy. I've got to get back to work. So,
all right.
You have a nice afternoon.
Well,
okay,
you too.
Man.
You too. And thanks again. Thanks again for your call. I appreciate it. All right. You have a good one. Okay. God bless. Cool. All right. Yeah, we got a former listener of the Power Hour out there. That's wonderful. Whoa, and we got another one. Oh, the floodgates have opened here. Okay, let's see. Who do we have there? Oh, what happened? Where'd you go, caller? Oh, I somehow lost that call. I don't know what happened. Okay, caller, call back again. I'll put you right on. Anyway, that's great to have some folks calling in and say, yeah, I remember the Power Hour. Yeah, I do too. But that's going back years now. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, we were talking about the IRS. And, back, 25 years ago or something like that, there was a big movement to expose the IRS. And I was in touch with a lot of different people. You may recall Aaron Russo. He produced the film America From Freedom to Fascism, and it's all about the IRS. If you haven't seen that, you really should. And Aaron Russo went and he had interviewed a lot of the people that I had already been in touch with. People like Joe Bannister, Irwin Schiff, Sherry Peel Jackson, John Turner, a bunch of other people who were either with the IRS or had been involved in IRS issues for many, many years. And as a matter of fact, here's an audio clip that you're going to hear from Joe Bannister and from Irwin Schiff. And this goes back a bunch of years.
Why do you think you've been able to get away with not paying or filing your income taxes for so long?
Well, first of all, I've not gotten away with anything. I'm not hiding from anyone. I'm simply asking the IRS to show me the laws that apparently require me to do these things, and they are suspiciously reticent to answer questions from me. And of course, there are millions of other people, many other organizations who have attempted to get answers. They act very suspiciously when asked to simply sit down at the table with the American people and discuss what their obligations are. Rather than pulling up a chair, they pull out a club.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing in
Okay, that was Joe Bannister. Here's Irwin Schiff.
the Internal Revenue Code that creates any such thing as an income tax evasion or crime. There's nothing in the code that allows IRS agents to seize property. The government is involved in judicial blackmail. The government knows that if it legally seizes somebody's property, that person doesn't have the funds and he can't even get a lawyer who can help him.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
This small booklet includes the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. This is a document that every citizen should read.
Okay, she's holding up a citizen's rule book, which you can get online. It's a little pamphlet, and in that pamphlet, the ones that I have, it has the handbook for jurors, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, and a whole bunch of Supreme Court decisions. Anyway, it's just a little pamphlet. And then she holds up the IRS code book, 2,000-odd pages of legalese. Oh, isn't that wonderful?
It's a document which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
That's right. And like I said, she was holding up this little tiny booklet, the Citizen's Rule Book, and then she holds up this huge mammoth book of IRS codes. And the codes are what enslaved those of us who went by the Constitution. Well, you know what happened? What happens with all that money that the IRS grabs? You know, after they've financially graped you, they take all that money, and what do they do with it? Well, there's a guy here that put it all together. Listen to this breakdown of where your money goes and who gets to benefit from it. Listen up.
Okay, we're going to start something. We're going to start going over the budget one day at a time. Today.
Okay, I'm going to pause this for a second because this is about a 4-minute clip, and every minute is worth your time. Give it a listen.
The House of Representatives. You want to know where the pork is going? Let's start with the people that are making the laws. The MRA, the Members Representational Allowance, is $810 million. There are 535 members of Congress with an average salary of $175,000. And yes, that has not changed since 2009. But forgive me if I'm not shedding tears over somebody that can't live off $175,000 because the average American earns $59,000. So they're making 3 times the American average. So please spare me your crocodile tears. But with an $810 million budget, with 535 members of Congress, that means on average, we are budgeting $1.5 million to each congressperson. Where is that money being spent?
I'm going to pause that for a second. Let that sink in. We're not just talking about their salaries. We're talking about all of these other little pockets of change that they get to dip their fingers into. Keep listening.
What are they using $1.5 million on? Oh, it gets better.
Oh, does it?
The majority and minority leadership, which would be Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Johnson, they get $37 million just for them for, I don't know. Is it
okay? He just pointed out it's not just the Republicans or I'm sorry, not just the Republicans, and it's not just the Democrats. It's both sides. He just said Hakeem Jeffries, who's a Democrat, and Mike Johnson, who's a Republican. So this corruption is nonpartisan. When does your blood start boiling? What's wrong with you if your blood is not boiling? Oh, I get it. You're distracted by the playoffs. Yeah, okay. Oh, you're distracted by what's on Netflix. Oh, I get it. You're distracted by whatever distraction that you put in front of your face so you don't have to pay attention to this stuff. Oh, you love to complain and moan and cry and bitch about it, but you don't do anything. So when does America realize what it means of, by, and for the people? When do Americans get off their big, fat, pimple-covered butt, roll up their sleeves, and get involved? How much financial grape do you have to go through? Keep listening.
caviar for breakfast? I don't know. And then the House committees, just to meet, they get $212 million. Think about that. And these people are wanting to give themselves all of them, Republicans and Democrats, a $70,000 raise, which is 35 or 40%-ish. Think about this.
Okay, think about that. They want to give themselves a 70% raise. Let that settle in. When's the last time you got a raise? Was it 70%? Was it 50%? Was it 40%? Was it 10%? Or maybe 10 cents?
Going back to what I said, the average American earns $59,000 a year. They're going to give themselves a $70,000 raise. So they're going to pay themselves more, 22% more than the average American currently earns as a raise, in addition to their $175,000 current salary.
Okay, I'm going to pause it again. Now, usually, you get a raise for a reason. You get a raise because you did a great job, a really good job. And I'll tell you, for 70% of a raise, you'd have to be doing one hell of a job to deserve that kind of a raise. However, what is the congressional approval rating? They're giving themselves a raise for doing a crappy job.
Which means, on average, they will make $245,000. And Congress can't raise the federal minimum wage, but they're giving themselves a $70,000 raise.
Let that settle in. They can't increase the minimum wage, and yet they give themselves a 70% increase in their salary. Are you mad yet? No? Okay, what else is it going to take?
To themselves. Well, that must be nice. This is why this government isn't working for us. It's not a one-side issue when it comes to this. This is bananas. We're spending on average $1.5 million on each congressperson to give themselves a raise and to not raise the minimum wage for Americans. $2 billion, $1.9 billion in total for Congress to operate. All this pork is in here for what? To have meetings? We own the buildings in America. We own them. What are you spending all this money on? Why do you need $212 million for the House committees? To what? Are you guys flying to the moon? Is the Wi-Fi, $3,000 an hour in outer space on Elon Musk's rocket ship? Where the hell is all this money going? You want to cut the fat? Cut your budget. Make it work. Cut out the $212 million, the $37 million. That's $250 million. You want to cut it out? Start there. But stop gaslighting the American people and telling us that you care about us when you're giving yourself a $70,000 raise. This is why we're failing. Because it's all about them. It's not about the people. Have a good day.
And how do they get away with it? Well, the answer is easy. Nobody's paying attention. When does America, get real close to your radio. I want you to get really close. I'm gonna whisper in your ear. I want to tell you something really important, okay? Are you listening? Wake up! I don't know what it's going to take. For the love of God. Oh, I got to take a quick break. Here we go.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties. Results vary.
And I tell you, you no listen. Why you no listen to me? I tell you that this Get More Tank stuff works. It really does. Yeah, it takes a tank or two for it to work its magic, but it works. I noticed it within the first tank. I took 2 tablets. It's a first-time application. You put 2 tablets in your gas tank, you fill the tank. By the time you get to the end of that tank, you're going to notice that when you hit the gas, you go. Yeah, and not only that, but the car starts up easier. I used to turn my key, and my car would go, it would start up. But after using Get More Tank, I turn the key, it goes, starts right up. And then when I get at the stoplight and it turns green, I hit the gas. Whoa, I got G-forces. My car was going great. And then after about 2 or 3 tanks, I start to see the mileage increase. And depending upon your make, model, and year of your vehicle and your driving habits, you can see anywhere between 15 and 20% increase in your mileage. Which means, dear listener, if you make one purchase, use the promo code REDPILL101, cost you $20, you'll get 5 tablets. Now, once you've conditioned your car, you get 5 tablets for $20. If you're getting a 20% increase in your mileage, that means for your $20, you end up with a free tank of gas. This is a no-brainer, folks. This is absolutely a no-brainer. Your car's going to run better. It's going to run cleaner. It's going to have more power, and you're going to get better mileage. So if you're not getting Get More Tank, I tell you, you know, listen. You got to listen. Listen to Dave. Look, I'm not stupid. I'm not crazy, and I don't lie. That's my motto. But anyway, check this stuff out. Go to our website, TheWTFReports, and don't forget the word the, T-H-E, TheWTFReports.com, and then hit on the sponsors page, button. It'll take you down to where you can click on Get More Tank, read all the specifications and details, do your own research. I'm not making this stuff up. And once you understand how and why this stuff works, I don't know why you don't get some. Get some. Yeah, just get it. Try it out. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, enough of that. All right, there's a couple other things I wanted to get to here. Let me see, which way do I go? Okay, let's turn the clock back to 1993. You remember the guy says, "Hello, Americans. I'm Paul Harvey. Stand by for news." Remember Paul Harvey? I used to listen to him all the time. And the rest of the story, you know. Anyway, going back to 1993, Here's Paul Harvey with a little bit of some words of wisdom.
Goes by, but what some researcher tries to scare us or trick us out of research money by claiming that the sky is falling. And with the willing complicity of headline-hungry media, a recent crisis of the month had to do with global warming. An ozone hole is opening up over the United States, we were told, the effects of which were already measurable in an increase in skin cancer. On the contrary, destroying chlorine around the polar vortex has been declining since January. A major objective of a recent shuttle mission was to determine the scope and scale of the so-called ozone hole, and the silence since has been deafening from those whose livelihood depends on creating crises. Recent data from the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellites affirms that any problem is less, it's not greater. Ozone levels fluctuate all of the time, partly because of volcanic activity and solar flares. But MIT's Technology Review has made an exhaustive study of worldwide ocean temperatures since 1851, has concluded that there appears to have been little or no global warming over the past century. In fact, the net rise in world surface temperature during the last century, which was about 1%, almost all occurred before 1940, and that was before aerosols, and that has since been reversed. Former NASA chief Robert Jastrow and former Scripps director William Nierenberg, past president of the American Academy of Sciences, Frederick Seitz, all have concluded in a scathing rebuke of those who make money by predicting global warming, quote, if we allow ourselves to be influenced by press release, we could spend $1 trillion over the next decade destroying what's left of the American economy.
American economy. Uh-huh. Now, again, that was back in 1993, folks. Okay? And as a matter of fact, there was another report that came out, and this one was in 1991. And this is Dan Rather. Listen to Dan Rather. Again, 1991, folks.
Concern about rising temperatures on planet Earth heated up a hearing here in Washington today. For years, scientists have theorized about the dangers of the so-called greenhouse effect, the warming of the Earth's atmosphere due to the burning of coal and oil. And in recent months, as David Culhane reports, research has uncovered facts to support that theory.
Many scientists claim that the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere has been rising over the past 100 years, that the great sheets of pack ice in Antarctica are melting at a much more rapid rate than previously. And finally, that the sea level has been rising with increasing swiftness over the past 40 years. If these scientists are correct, about 25% of Florida would be flooded, along with low-lying areas all over the world. Climate changes could produce widespread disruption of agriculture. The American farm belt might be too dry, and the wheat and corn crops would have to move to Canada. Scientists blame the odorless, colorless carbon dioxide gas for these potentially dangerous changes around the planet. It is the greenhouse effect. The gas allows sunlight to filter down and warm the Earth. But like the glass of a greenhouse, the carbon dioxide tends to trap heat so that it cannot rise into space. The scientists maintain that the coal, oil, and gas we've been burning for 100 years have produced more and more carbon dioxide and helped overheat the Earth. Now, some political leaders endorse the demands for more CO2 monitoring stations, like this one in Hawaii. And they share the anger of the scientists at Reagan administration budget cuts at a time when they feel closer to getting definitive answers.
We are not doing the kind of research that we should be doing to determine whether or not these scientists who are so alarmed are correct in their...
I'm going to pause that. That's Al Gore, way back when.
Assessment.
And what they find out will affect the lives and fortunes of millions of people. The very survival of cities like this one. David Culhane, CBS News, New York.
Okay, so what shik-shing is the shik-shing solution to the shik-shing problem that they're shik-shing trying to put it shik-shing in front of our faces? Shik-shing. What do you suppose that is? Well, it seems to me that everything is bass-ackwards. We all know that. I mean, I remember in junior high school that we, as mammals, we inhale and we exhale. We inhale, we take in the oxygen, and we exhale the carbon dioxide. Okay, now in return, all the fauna, all the greenery, all the forests and trees, the Amazon forest and all that, see the trees and the plants and everything, they breathe too. But they breathe in the carbon dioxide and they exhale the oxygen. Okay? So, I mean, we learned this years and years and years ago. So what's the solution for people like Bill Gates? What does he want to do to stop this trend that we're seeing? Okay, we're worried about this carbon footprint, right? So what's his solution? Cut down all the trees. Yeah, that's what he's thinking. Oh, and then, of course, there's the cow farts. We can't forget about that, the flatulent bovine problem that we've got. Well, the University of Nebraska did a study, and they found out that whole thing is horse hockey. They found out that cows actually have a negative carbon footprint. And meanwhile, if you do a little search on the global ice caps, the Antarctic and the Arctic ice, guess what? We've had since 2023, 220 billion tons of ice increase. The polar caps are growing. The world we're not going through a crisis of global warming. Of course, the powers that be want you to believe that. And I just proved it to you by playing these clips that go back decades. They've been setting this table for a long time. And for all those people who are all worried about it, and I'm worried, I'm worried about pollution. I don't want my water and my air to be, completely screwed up and unpalatable or poisonous. So, unfortunately, there are people out there that want to basically, we have to get rid of all the oil, get rid of the gasoline, get rid of the diesel, get rid of all of the systems that we depend upon for our energy because they're all polluting. And I would agree. However, you can't take one thing away without replacing it. You can't just destroy, the oil industry, the gas industry, the nuclear power industry. We can't just take them away. We'll be screwed. We have to have something to replace it with. But unfortunately, the people who have financial interest in big oil, big gas, big nuclear, wind power, solar power, they're all invested in those systems of energy. They don't want any competition. Remember, John D. Rockefeller said competition is sin, which is why he did everything he could to destroy the rail industry. He wanted everybody to be driving trucks and cars and stuff, Standard Oil. And so he systematically dismantled the rail systems in this country. But you see, what we should be doing, we should be listening to the scientists out there that have brought forward technologies that would solve the problems. Nikola Tesla, 0-point energy. Yeah, we've heard about that. That is real. Okay, how about the engine? I mean, I met Stan Meyer. He's the guy that made the car. He drove from the East Coast to the West Coast on 22 gallons of water. Yeah, he was burning water. H2O. He burns the hydrogen and it lets off oxygen as exhaust. Oh, but we can't have that. No. So we turn our backs on 0-point energy. We turn our backs on the engines that run on hydrogen and water. We turn our backs on the magnet power, the magnet motors that we have, the magnet generators. Those are real too. I've seen them with my own eyeballs. I know they exist. But the powers that be don't want this energy to come out. As a matter of fact, Dr. Stephen Greer, and I highly recommend that you search out this documentary. It's called The Lost Century, produced by Dr. Stephen Greer. And he goes through and he points out all these technologies that came forward, and we could have been, by now, if they released these technologies a century ago, We would have zero pollution. We would have free energy. And the economies of the world, I mean, there would be no famine because you could get water. You could solve all the problems by releasing these technologies. But you see, we have some really sick monsters who have controlled the world. They've taken over the world. And the only way that we're going to solve these problems is to expose these monsters and to out them. Get rid of these systems. Now I know, oh, Dave, you're an idealist. Yeah, well, what's wrong with wanting the ideal? You're a utopianist. Okay, well, what's wrong with trying to do everything we can to create a utopia? I think outside of the cage. I know I'm a conspiracy theorist. Well, guess what? We conspiracy theorists are batting 1,000 over the past couple of decades. So when anybody points their finger and says, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you should be researching what it is that they're talking about. But anyway, no, I'm not making this stuff up, folks. Like I said, I'm not stupid, I'm not crazy, and I do not lie. Now, I might be wrong about something, and I look forward to being wrong once in a while. It's an opportunity for growth. You get to eat some crow and humble yourself. But unfortunately, a lot of people out there, they don't have a palate for that. No, their ego and pride get in the way. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there because, like I said, I saw this study, and they said 220 billion tons of ice in the increase. Oh, man. Those people that want to have the credit score, they're using that as an excuse to gain total and absolute control over every man, woman, and child on the world. They want to digitize everything, every animal, every plant, every source of every mineral, resources, everything. And we are not that far away from that, folks. And they're going to come out with this digital ID. God help you if you accept that. No, the hard no from this guy. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out there because, again, we've got to start thinking outside of the cage. And again, for all of you folks out there that waiting for somebody else to do something about it is not going to work. All right, we have a caller. Let's go to the phones. Hello, caller. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Dave. It's Carolyn.
Carol.
Yeah, hi.
Hi there.
There's a lot of hot buttons there. I don't think it's utopia necessarily. I mean, God gave us all of the resources that we needed, not just to survive, but my God, but for the mighty buck or power or for greed or whatever, then, I mean, can you imagine that regarding, say, ETs, higher beings looking at us, they must think, you know what, wow, how somebody said the terminology like we're a bunch of amoebas down here. Like, really? I mean, so I don't know, really. I agree with you as far as the IRS goes also, as a lot of people know that it's organized crime. There's a statement, actually, it's a document that is a statement to get out of it, but everybody's too afraid of them, like like organized crime, like they're just gangsters.
What document? What document are you talking about?
I think it's six. I can pull it up for you. There was an organization called Global something way back when, 20 plus years ago. They ended up getting rid of him because he was touting our rights, including the IRS. I'll pull it up. It's a statement. I'm not sure which.
Was that global?
There's actually a statement.
Global Research? Is that what it was?
No. I'll find out. There was a company that basically. Let me back up. There's a company that was an educational company, okay, and they happened to have pointed out this document, and I do believe it's an IRS document to opt out. And so, but it's Section 8 or something, and so you go in there. But if you ask, it's like you mentioned, rather than a reasonable conversation or help me opt out of the IRS, like you mentioned, they'll take you to prison, get a club out because they're just a bunch of thugs. So the whole thing is just I love the show today, partly when you said, "Are you mad yet?" It's like, I'm swearing under my breath. It's so infuriating. But I definitely want to look into the lost century also. That's another thing. It's a shame that we couldn't hold on to those technologies, like the people that are sane, like us, people that are sane and humanitarian, hold on to those, like the Wave Watch. Look at the Wave Watch. I mean, there's still some technology left, but maybe, what will happen, I don't know how much destruction has to happen on this planet, and maybe there'll be a few survivors to try to, rebuild. I don't know, but it is absolutely. I just feel like it really feels like an encroaching, smothering dark cloud. Is how I describe this feeling. So I just wanted to input. Yeah, I'm absolutely beyond anger. It's just. I mean, they're destroying us. We've let them. We took it for granted. Our freedoms here. Have no idea what the constitutional rights are, let alone how to form a militia or anything else to protect us. I mean, I'm really feeling like, whoa, I feel like I'm a fish on a hook and I can't get off of it.
Well, you're absolutely right, because there are so many people. The overwhelming majority of the American public is so far behind the curve. I mean, there's just so much for them to have to pick up the pieces. I don't know if there's enough time to be able to educate and inform enough people that there are solutions to these problems. And but unfortunately, they're all wrapped up in all of the distractions and the shiny baubles and the bright colors and the lights and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're definitely in the loop. And it's like a derangement. It should be in the DRG. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so bad that it's like it's like looking at someone walking into a, like they're walking voluntarily into a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
It's like don't you see the other people? Like, don't you see what's happening in Palestine? Don't you see what's going on with the CBDCs in China? Don't you see about the fire? It's a land grab, and they want a digital buy. They want to dig. I mean, I wonder how much Yellowstone's going to be worth. I heard China wants that.
Yeah, well, that's I've been saying this for a while. If God puts us on this planet as a test, and humanity, if this is a test, you're failing miserably. You really are.
And I agree with you on the false flag situation.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Trump's speech. And I thought, oh, great, grand and all fine and dandy until something big happens. Anybody that has any sense, I think the people that are already awake to begin with. I mean, obviously your career, you've been looking at this stuff for so long now, and we do appreciate your show, by the way, Dave, very much in your music as well. You were definitely ahead of your time. All that stuff, now it's all coming out, and God's got you back out in the trenches here,
Yeah, kick me in the butt again.
But so I don't want to take the rest of your show, but I just want to let you know that we're listening and figuring out. It's like, what do we do? I mean, this is
just stay tuned. Just stay tuned.
Okay, but one more quick one.
I don't have time for a quick one. I don't have time. That's the music. Oh no! All right, sweetheart. I'm sorry, but we're flat out of time. Time and tide waits for no man or woman. So, all right. God bless you. Thank you for listening. All right. Talk to you soon. Oh man! I tell you, an hour goes by so quick. Time goes by quickly when you're having a good time. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I so appreciate your listenership, and if you're listening on BitChute or YouTube or Rumble or Facebook, click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, word of mouth. Tell people. Grab them by their shoulders and shake them until their eyeballs rattle, okay? All right, that's enough said of that. Okay, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Anymore.